So good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining. I think I should introduce you a little bit more briefly. Mary, you have a quite fascinating history, Vita, let's say. You founded a China-based startup called Aslan in earlier days, which is nowadays a part of Fliggy, of Alibaba Group. Now you're based in Singapore, you're a serial entrepreneur, and you're based in another startup called Atlas Travel, which is not a startup anymore, which grows perfectly together with human and digital assistants, or human and digital employees.
Thank you, Dirk.
Which is great. I'll come back to this later on. Peter, probably you're one of the most known guys here. You're the CIO of the TUI group. You did a lot of things in AI at TUI, both on the B2B side and on the B2C side. You also established a workforce, AI workforce for your employees, and you also use this on the customer side. So we go into this. And Alex, you're one of the distinguished guests of the ITB convention. I can remember your first AI talk was in the year 2018 about AI. Now you're doing it. You're coding for yourself. It's not your job, but you're developing AI tools. You're working on autonomous agents or on autonomous tools for self-driving cars.
Absolutely, and in 2018, when I presented about AI at ITB on the e-travel stage as it was then, do you know how many people turned up? 20. So,
it's a bit more today, isn't it?
6 years ago, see what happens, yeah.
And you're doing so much more. You're working on location-based services, on AI tour guides, but we're coming to this, so let's work it out properly. Mary, coming back to you. You have a bunch of digital employees, which have names: Bridget, Carmen, Doris, Florence. And these are autonomous agents.
Yep.
And you started with them pretty early, 1 year before already. So
2 years before.
2 years before. So how do they perform?
Good question. So before I come to my question, can I say something about Microsoft?
Of course.
Autonomous agent. So I think since AI started, AI brings some hope for us, because AI brings us open sourcing. AI brings us a hope. We finally can have someday get rid of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
So I really look forward, expect, and autonomous AI can bring us more space to collaborate with so many travel solution providers. Not bring another roof of us. We stay under Microsoft.
Okay.
That's something I want to say.
Clear words.
So indeed, Atlas has 5 digital employees. So those 5 digital employees is autonomous AI at the beginning. So we believe AI comes from bottom up. AI doesn't come from Mary's mind. AI comes from all those our team members who can deliver automation solution which can really help them to work faster and efficiency, and they can have a coffee, look at all the digital employees, enjoy their holiday, and digital employees can work 24 hours, 365 days, non-stopless. So this is our story. It works really well. So far, Atlas, there is only 70 employees, but we have integrated 150 low-cost carriers directly in a very short period of time.
Okay, cool. Peter, you also have your digital employees. You don't call them like this. You call it the TUI workforce, I think. So you use a bunch of IT tools for your internal services, and you also invest in AI in terms of customer communications, bookings, and so on. What is the core advantage so far for TUI Group?
Yeah, I think maybe just for context, we're a little bit bigger. So we take the equivalent of the whole of Australia, 22 million people on holiday every year. Everything from e-commerce to retail stores, our own airplanes, cruise ships, hotels. And we have 60,000 employees. So you can imagine quite a big, complex enterprise. So what really excites me about AI, of course, is generative AI. Like Mary explained, is you make AI available to anyone that can write in any language. So the first thing we did was to try and put these tools into the hands of our employees. We have a AI lab, and the AI lab is no longer just an IT discipline. This is IT and business working together. So the job of IT is to put these autonomous agents in the hands of the employees. So we have something similar like you've seen on the screen by Microsoft, where you can go and create your own assistant. We have assistant store. You can share your assistants across the organization. We have now thousands of these assistants being used, everything in customer service, in e-commerce, in document management, answering frequently asked questions, aviation. And I think this has been probably one of the biggest breakthroughs, because no longer do you have to wait for an IT guy to help you. You can really start to think about your own processes and change it. And we've seen amazing, amazing breakthroughs just by someone in the call center having a problem, having to deal with complaint handling, and they sped up the complaint handling process by 80%.
Wow.
Just writing their own workflow in their own language. And they then try to translate it, make it more available to all the call centers in the different languages. So we see really, really great breakthroughs, and really just putting it in the hands of your employees.
Cool. Alex, let's jump back to 2018. 20 people followed you, and so the majority missed this speech from you. What came true about the things you said in 2018 about AI and travel?
Well, I'm all about delivery of the experience. So, you know, a lot of times we talk about travel tech, we're talking about retail, we're talking about distribution, but the actual product itself doesn't really change that much. And I'm much more interested in how the product changes using AI. And so all of those things that I talked about in 2018, which the video is on ITB's YouTube channel. I had to go and watch it again the other day. I did look younger. This is 6, 7 years ago. You know, if you buy a bus, you finance it over 7 years. So 7 years ago, I said what you had to buy for 7 years' time. And if you financed for 7 years, you should have been listening in 2018, because those loans that you're paying for your financing for your vehicles are still to be paid, and they're not necessarily.
Have you seen all these advantages that are visible now? Efficiency, hyper-personalization.
Personalization is the key thing. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you an example. So in San Francisco, we heard Microsoft talk about autonomous cars in the presentation just now. We've got a poetry evening. And a poetry evening, let me tell you, is not very commercial. There's not many people who really want to go on a poetry evening. So that would never, ever be a commercial tour. But now it can be a commercial AI-operated tour, because you only need 2 people to make it go, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing that I would like to experience. So I'm less focused on efficiency, more interested on what can we do today that is radically different that we couldn't do 10 years ago. And delivering long-tail experiences that are super interesting around people's passions is exactly where we should be.
Okay, so to speed up the discussion a bit, let's do a speedy question-answer game. You have 2 answer possibilities, options, A or B, and I do have 1 question to you. Question is always the same. It's called, where is AI most powerful currently in your point of view? And you have an A and a B. And in the first round, the A is B2B or B, B2C, or as Microsoft would say, reshaping operations A or optimizing customer experiences B. A or B?
B2C?
B.
B.
B, definitely, I think, because you control the process more. B2C, I think you can see how the customer's behavior will change. I really like the slide from Microsoft, but that is speeding up. So I think the big impact long term will be B2C. Right now it's B2B.
Okay.
B to B to C, but we won't have tour operators. We will only have AI companions, which is what we saw from Microsoft. So the actual B that is in the B2B is not the same B as it is today.
Okay, next round. A, company growth, or B, cost savings, efficiency?
No, company grow because of a growth opportunity, not because you're saving cost. Because you can earn more money.
Right.
So what's the answer?
A.
Okay.
Peter, A or B?
Yeah, I think you talk a lot about, people talk about developers, will they exist in the future? I think what will happen is people will do more work, more complex work, so the efficiency will come by actually having the same people doing more and more work. So, of course, that is then reinvested in it in the form of growth. So for me, it's absolutely growth.
Cool.
A, sustainable growth, because it's no use getting rid of all the humans out of the travel industry, because we actually would quite like humans to still be involved. So we need to reinsert humans back into the AI experience. And that is what sustainability will mean in an AI world.
Thank you. Next round. A, customer satisfaction, or B, efficiency in operations?
So everything is about customer satisfaction, because all the efficiency, all the digital employee, everything we drive because customer satisfaction.
So thanks to our friends Microsoft, every time they launch something, they use travel as example. I think the customer expectation is changing. They want more. So absolutely has to be customer satisfaction. But I think the experience in how they search, how they interact with you, whether you are hotelier, or airline, or tour operator, is changing. So, but it's absolutely about the customer.
Okay. Alex?
Customer satisfaction, A. However, we are actually worse than a human-operated product today. Just in the same way that YouTube is worse than live theatre, we, using AI to operate experiences, are worse than a human tour guide. Human tour guides are amazing. So we're actually doing really badly on customer satisfaction, even though it is actually important.
Okay. Last round, it's a little bit different. A, Microsoft and Google, or B, Alibaba and DeepSeek?
I love it.
Which?
So I always love those AI companies who embrace open
Which,
sourcing.
A or B?
Hold on. Who embrace open sourcing, who enable more and more travel tech company to join this campaign. Obviously, DeepSeek bring hopes to us. So Alibaba and DeepSeek.
Okay. I come back to this, I promise. A or B?
C. I choose C.
Aha, which is the C?
No, so C is A and B. So I actually use both. We do use Microsoft, we do use Google, we do use DeepSeek. So we like to have an ecosystem where we can choose. So for me, C is about optionality. I think the models are accelerating super fast. They have different price points, they have different use cases, and it's important for you to be able to choose. I think, and therefore, both.
Wow. Alex?
Okay, A, so we use OpenAI. However, I really want to move towards on-device AI, i.e. the AI, because it's much more private if your personal data is not leaving your phone. And DeepSeek is a model that will enable us to do that. But to me, it's less about the base large language models. It's actually about the audio generation. That's where the latency is, and that's where the costs are. So I'm more worried about having debates like 11 labs versus anything else, because that is the expense. For me to operate a tour using AI, it costs us $2, $3, $4 of voice and like 50 cents of LLM cost. So it's the voice that's the issue, not the LLM.
Okay, was it an A or a B? I didn't get your point.
Yeah, ABC.
ABC, okay. But coming back to DeepSeek, I have to say, when we started planning this session, we didn't know DeepSeek, I have to say. So you're proud ambassador of DeepSeek.
I'm super fan of DeepSeek.
Why is this? Is it open source, you said? We know this, but is it really open to use? What do you do with DeepSeek?
I think at the end, DeepSeek is really to use, but behind of the story, because we always love the story, so a group of young people, 200, 500 young engineers, they don't have a huge salary, they don't have a background, they are passionate to develop that. That's DeepSeek. They open sourcing everything, they share, they collaborate. And a group of people, they have a huge capital investment, especially Microsoft, and they invest a huge money on that. A group of engineers with a huge amount of capitals generate a big cost for us. So who you love?
Yeah,
I'm just listening.
Yeah. Can I add something?
Please.
Yeah, I think I love the fact that DeepSeek came and challenged the incumbents, and I think they did it in a quite a clever way, right? Because they didn't have the capital, they didn't assume that's the only answer. They had to go back to first principle thinking and really decide. And if you look at the technical papers, they did like just 2 examples of why their model is cheaper, 90% cheaper in training and inference, is instead of using, huge 32 basis points or floating points for each Nero point, they actually moved it to 8. And it was 75% good enough. And that gave them huge advantage on the inference side. And then they used a mixture of experts. So instead of activating the whole neural net, they choose early on which part of the neural net to activate. So back to his point, I think on cost, you're going to start to see a huge, and you already see it, reduction in cost, both on inference, real-time voice. Right now it's quite expensive, but I think DeepSeek has really put some really interesting architecture out there. Everyone will start to adopt it. So I think there was an initial idea that we will use less NVIDIA chips. I think we'll just train more models. There will be more options, more experts, and at cheaper cost. So it's good for the customer. I really like what they've done.
Thank you.
Okay. Coming back to your answers, you have been very clear with all of it. You said B2C is a core advantage, it's company growth, it's customer satisfaction. You all agree on this. So
I have to explain why I say B2C.
That would be my question, yes?
Yeah.
Just because you're a B2B company.
Yeah, but I love B2C because I think AI, we talk a lot about ChatGPT, Copilot, a kind of invisible agent. But indeed, AI is a technology who really can bring hardware devices to a lot of people who cannot travel, like glasses, headphones, or something can help human being who has never had the opportunity to travel because I can't see, I can't hear, because language, because of my body issues. So it's really exciting news for travel industry because AI can really enable so many people to travel. So I think that's why I say B2C. It doesn't mean OTA distribution. It means something can enable human being to get close to the world. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, probably right. And you also agree. You also said you have this AI companion at TUI, so you raise a lot of efficiency, but still it's B2C, even if it's not really visible so far.
And let me turn the question a little bit. I see AI not as an application. I see it, and I think this is for the audience a good frame of reference. We should see it as essential infrastructure. I think AI is like the internet. So what we're seeing right now is the development of the essential infrastructure. You see the big players are pushing this infrastructure, battling for the front door. Everything is moved to the device. So in the future, you will have the assistant that you trust on your phone. Now, the question is, where does the assistant get its information from? How does the assistant interact with B2B companies like us? And how you then derive hyper-personalization to the person. So I think you can see Alexa Plus was just announced. Everyone is pushing for intelligent, personalized assistant on the phone. So I like his example of having the assistant or the tour travel guide with you everywhere we go. So the way we see it in TUI, us controlling or having the opportunity to really own the customer from inspiration to destination, through the whole experience, we will have very personalized interaction and conversation with the customer. And if you had difficulty on your travel, for example, you had a delayed flight, by the time you go to the hotel, actually, the hotelier will know about it. They can completely customize your check-in experience. They can customize the extras they give you in the room. So I see travel as a long-running conversation, multiple experts along the journey that helps you. So for me, it's beyond just the travel product. It's the whole experience. And I think this is how we really are thinking about travel. You don't talk in terms of hotel facts. You talk in emotional language. And generative AI brings emotion into this purchasing inspiration journey. I like Microsoft slides about really pushing generative AI to inspiration. And this is what's happening. Right now, when you come to a travel website, it's a drop-down. Where do you want to travel from? Country, date.
Yeah.
But that's not how we think. This is not how we inspire you. When you think about your holiday, you're on WhatsApp, right? You talk in emotional language, you talk about the experience. So I think the search is also flipping.
Yeah.
To your point. You will start with the experience, then you will figure out where to stay in order to have that type of experience, including what style of hotel, what the hotel should feel like, and then the travel or the flight is part of that package. So I think this is the two main changes that you will start to see. Start with the experience and inspiration pushing way up in the journey. So by the time you actually are having this conversation, or you come to the travel website, you actually already have a very good understanding, but more in an emotional language rather than a drop-down.
Quick question, quick answer, please. Do you think that AI has to become necessarily visible for the customer, or will it stay in the background?
I think customers would like to know when AI is giving them the service. So I think this is one of the, not just the industry problem, it is how people are adopting AI, what is acceptable barriers. But I think there is high tolerance to trust AI actually with personal information. And the reason I say that, if you think about what Apple Pay achieved, right? We always saw payments as a very toxic thing. And now you're quite happy to put your credit card information on your phone. You tap, but because there's a secure exchange of just the right amount of information. And that's how I see personalized AI will work in the future. On your phone, it will know what information about you it can share with a travel company.
Yeah.
You will give it the permission to share.
Yeah.
It will go and personalize it and come back and then hyper-personalize it for you on the phone. So that's the direction, I think. And what does it mean? It means hoteliers, travel companies need to think about how they now start to capture that information beyond just the name of the person when they travel. I think the comments and how you experience it is going to be important.
You're looking not that satisfied.
Peter, you were going so well until you said capture the customer. We don't want to capture any customer.
Okay.
Right? So one of the things that I've been doing for the last few years is been co-authoring a new industry standard called HAT Pro, Hospitality and Travel Profile, which is a decentralized profile. It will be publishing soon. It's coming out of DIF, Decentralized Identity Foundation, lots of acronyms. Sorry. And that is going to be enabled. That's going to be open source, open for everyone. It doesn't use blockchain. There's no tokens, no crypto, none of that nonsense. We're just decentralized using DIDs, decentralized IDs. And that means that any local tour operator, any independent hotel will be able to ask the customer, their guest, for preferences and be able to personalize service. And that is going to be a game changer, because we're no longer going to need big platform gatekeepers like the OTAs, who are not just gatekeepers, they just close the door, right? They won't give you any information. So we're going to have open preferences shareable by the consumer that are going to work hand in hand with the new EU digital wallet, which is something that's important for hoteliers because it's going to be mandatory to accept that in the next few years. So there will be decentralized personalization. And there's a group of about 10 of us who have been working on that for the last 2 years, and I'm one of those co-authors. So,
yeah.
HAT Pro.
Yeah, indeed, we have to dive into hyper-personalization.
Yeah,
you made it already, so self-sovereign identities can be one thing. But how to get a hyper-personalization really when you have GDPR, when you have locked data spaces? Is it working? Is digital IDs maybe one solution? What's the core challenge to get a real hyper-personalization in the travel landscape?
The real problem isn't actually the personalization. It's the delivery of the product after someone has personalized it. So there's no point, like Microsoft showed a very incomplete solution, which is that they said, hey, you can design this itinerary, and you can do this in 7 days. Yeah, but no tour operator is ever going to be able to operate that, because the customer has gone off and randomly designed whatever they want. Well, that isn't operatable. The only solution to operating a personalized experience is AI companions and autonomous vehicles, because they're small and they're individual and they can operate those experiences. And that's the reason why you can't have just one side of the equation. Okay. So we can't just have design and itinerary. You have to have operate the itinerary as well.
Unfortunately, time is running out a bit, but
I'll be 10 seconds.
One very last question. What's the next big thing in AI? I hope it fits to your thing you want to mention.
Next big thing. It doesn't fit, so I will stick to the next big thing. I think definitely the way people will search will change. Drastically.
I agree.
Drastically. We work on some really big, exciting stuff. I think we're in a special position that we own the customer's data all the way through the experience. So hopefully we can bring that to the industry and really also push, I think, the way people think about holidays. Really, your search experience right now is just a green screen of the 70s that's been put a UI on. I don't think humans behave really that way, and we want to get closer to the way people think, and it's in the experience. For me, personalization is not just a product, it is how a person feels on that journey. So for me, it's beyond just the product, it's do I know what you want at the end of every step of the way.
Next big thing, do you see something coming?
I totally agree with Peter, even we haven't discussed before that session. So I think in the past decades, our travel industry technology has done is digitalized supplier chains. We digitalized everything and we follow very boring searching model and fixed filters and get something not experienced. So I completely with Peter. So the next biggest change for travel industry is entire searching logic will change.
Let's remember what Microsoft is saying. We are just at the beginning. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we continue in our AI track at the e-travel stage at 2 p.m. Mary is also joining.
Welcome.
So we go a little bit deeper. And I have to thank you, Mary, Peter, Alex. Thank you for joining. And let's stay tuned on AI.
Thank you.